There's no better feeling than spotting new species of wildlife close to home. We forget that when the cameras are off, animals are out foraging for food, finding mates, and evading predators. While we are stuck inside doing our chores, jobs, and civilized living, I always daydream of what's going on right in the backwoods of my home in the Maine mid-coast. And what better way to track those elusive animals than by deploying our trail cameras in hopes of seeing something new. So let's head out there, set up the camera, and see what we can capture. We're definitely at that time of year where the weather doesn't have any sense to it. Just the other day it was 50 degrees, was outside doing yard work, cleaning up the property. And then this morning woke up and it's a blizzard, left about 3 inches of snow on the ground. But that's mid-March for you. As April approaches, I'm sure it's only going to get more strange between snow and rain and wind. But yeah, I'm out today setting up the trail camera at a new spot because as you can see, the river and the overflow pond, if that's what I'm going to call it, is completely swollen. And that ice sheet that I was able to photograph on this winter where I saw the bobcat and a few coyotes is now completely melted. So just going to try out a new spot here. This is the area that I was in the other week when I shot my unsuccessful 40-hour work week video. Didn't see any deer rolling through this area, but they're here and I found a new spot to set up the trail camera. The reason that I chose this area is because that river is now swollen up, meaning that any wildlife that's coming through the area is going to have to come loop around through this general vicinity and then walk back up the river. So I also noticed this rock wall has a nice little dip to it, and there's an open clearing right here that seems to have some activity. As I was walking in, I did see some turkey tracks. They were probably out foraging for some food before the turkey season rolls around in late April. And I figured this would be a good spot to test out and see if we can capture anything new. All I've gotten so far on the trail camera is some coyotes, squirrels, and I'm looking to get some deer and maybe some other different wildlife. So this spot's gonna hopefully provide that. Little did I know that 10 days later, Maine would be hit with another late season storm. The blizzard brought destructive wind that knocked down power lines and freezing rain icing over branches and roads. But if luck would have it, the trail camera would capture wildlife gearing up for these harsh conditions.
We have a long way to go. Accumulation is expected to be 1 to 2 feet into the mountains and then gradually lessening as you get closer to the coastline. Coastal areas still getting some accumulation, but will be dampened a bit when things change to sleet and freezing rain. Speaking of the freezing rain, we are going to be seeing that become a bit more of an issue as we head into the afternoon hours in areas of the immediate coast and a line between Lewiston and the Bangor.
And the temptation of freshly fallen snow blanketing the forest brought me back to check the trail camera after 10 days. My hopes of capturing a new wildlife species was about to come true, but I was not anticipating one of the newcomers. One who was seldomly seen by humans, but not secret enough to evade the trail camera. And lucky for us, we're about to take a closer look back in the studio. Well, I have over 500 video clips here that I've just gone through over the last 45 minutes, and I'm really happy to report that I've got a bunch of keepers, but I had the 500 video clips, and the reason that I got so many was I set my detection range to long range. This goes up to about 80 feet, and I think it was just triggering all of the different little branch movements, because a lot of the clips were just blank after it was already triggered by an animal walking through. So I think the sensor was just catching something moving in the background, and it deemed that a continuation of that wildlife capture. So I'm going to change that for the future if I keep this trail cam in this spot, because long detection range isn't really needed. I think the normal detection range will suffice just fine. But taking a look at all of these videos, I picked out a few of my favorites and just a few of the species that I actually haven't seen on camera before. And I think we should start out with my favorite, and that is the fisher. I have not seen one of these things, or not heard of one of these things being around in the area before, but of course they're there. They're native to the New England region. And as you probably know, fisher cats are not actually cats, and they're not actually eating fish. They're part of the weasel family. They are active during the day and night, and they feed on primarily mammals, small mammals such as rodents, mice, squirrels. They'll feed on raccoons. They'll even kill or eat porcupines, and porcupines can last them a lot of time, give them a lot of calories to sustain their energy for an extended duration. And I didn't think that I would see a fisher on the trail camera, but this thing, I know it was such a brief little moment that I'm gonna have to replay over and over again, but that was a really cool sighting. Right now is their mating season, so in that late winter, early spring, they are mainly solitary creatures, but they will be seen in pairs, of course, when it's that mating period. So I don't know if there's a mating pair going on out back right now, but that's certainly something to keep my eye on. Now moving on to the next really cool capture that I got. It starts with the mice. I was very aware that I was going to trigger a lot of mice activity in the crevices along this rock wall, and of course a lot of squirrels as well. But the next thing that we see is a barred owl. And I don't think, it doesn't look like in my initial look here that we captured the actual fly down predation event, but it looks like this barred owl is feeding on one of the mice that have been jumping around in the rocks in that open area that I pointed out earlier on in the video. So this was really, really, really cool to see. And I think if I zoomed in enough, it looked like it did capture a mouse and was actually flying away with that mouse. I hear these barred owls at night hooting and hollering, and it's really cool to actually see one on the trail camera. So owls are really difficult to spot out there, but I will keep my eye on them because I know that they're in the area, and they also are in their, I guess right now would be in the later mating period for them. So that was really cool to see. The other species that I got a bunch of video of are the turkeys, and these bands of turkeys, as they're called, as they're roaming around in their groups, can cover miles a day as they're foraging. They're eating things like fern spores or other vegetation, and as I mentioned again earlier in the video, I saw those turkey tracks, and with a larger area that looked to have been picked through underneath the snow. So the turkeys are really cool. The hunting season here in Maine is coming up on April 29th, and that will run for a period of about 2 months. So I'm not gonna be personally hunting them, but I will be hunting them with my camera, and knowing that there's a good band of them in the area, I'm hoping that I will be able to capture a few moments before any hunters might be taking their cache. And lastly, or second to last, is the deer. I finally got some deer on the trail camera, and it was really cool because I got some nighttime and daytime shots with the deers. And they were coming real close to the camera, but nothing right in front of the camera. And then finally, one of the days, a deer happened to walk right in front of the camera. It was even sniffing it. And we got to see a really cool side profile shot of the molt that's currently going on. So their summertime molts are generally 0.04 to 0.18 inches thick, and their wintertime molts are much thicker, like 0.8 inches to 1.1 inches thick. So it's really like that down insulation that they need to survive through the winter. And that thickness and weight is about 5 times greater in the winter than it is in the summer. So catching that side profile view of the molting activity already starting is a sure sign that spring is finally here. And lastly, when I checked the trail camera this morning, I looked at this morning's date because I'm always interested to see if there's anything that got there before I did. And a coyote happened to run through a little bit further off in the screen, and it was only for a split second, but that was really cool to see another capture of a coyote. Of course, I've got a lot of footage now of the coyotes themselves. So what does this all mean? Well, in the coming weeks, I'm going to set up my photography blind out there and just kind of leave it semi-permanently. Over the upcoming 5 days, up to a week, we're gonna be getting a bunch of rain. All of this snow that we just got is going to melt off. The temperatures are gonna be well above 32 degrees here. And I'm just going to allow the environment to kind of get completely saturated, really wet, and then go out there when the sun starts to come back out, dry things off, set up the photography blind, and just get that blind more acclimated to the area, because I know that there's deer and I've seen them in this certain section of the forest behind, out back of my house. So it's just a matter of putting in the hours, and if I can get my blind set up and just put in 8, 9, 10 hours in that blind, I know that I'll eventually hit, I'll eventually get lucky. So that's the plan in the coming days here. Additionally, if you haven't seen my photo print giveaway video, I'm still giving away an image of an Atlantic puffin that I took on Machias Seal Island here in Maine. And you can enter into potentially win that completely free by going over to that video, watching and learning how you can enter into that giveaway. And that will run for another few days. So April 3rd is the cutoff for that date. So if you're watching this on Sunday morning or Monday, you still got a few days to enter. But I think that's gonna do it for now. I can't thank you enough for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, do consider subscribing if you're not already. But I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week.